History is usually loud. It sounds like bombs. It sounds like cheering crowds. It sounds like screaming on the floor of the stock exchange. But the fracture of the North American alliance happened in near silence. At 2:14 p.m. today, Mark Carney walked out of the West Wing. He did not pause for the cameras. He did not shake hands with the press secretary. He did not glance back at the building. He stepped into his vehicle. The motorcade rolled, and within 4 minutes, 70 years of carefully managed diplomatic choreography went up in smoke. Inside the Oval Office, Donald Trump was reportedly still shouting. Outside, on trading floors in New York, Chicago, and Toronto, the quiet was cracking. The Canadian dollar did not collapse. The U.S. dollar did. The S&P 500 did not surge on American dominance. It slid on fears of American isolation. Donald Trump believed he was calling a bluff. He believed he could summon Canada's Prime Minister to Washington, slide a surrender document across the resolute desk, and watch him sign it under studio lights. He misjudged the man across from him. He treated Mark Carney like a subordinate. Carney answered like a central banker closing a risky position. And now the fallout is unfolding around you. Tonight, in this special report, we go deep. We have sources familiar with the meeting. We have details of the document Trump allegedly tried to impose on Canada. And we have troubling economic indicators the White House does not want amplified. This is not merely a tariff dispute. It is a rupture, and the United States may have just forfeited its dominance on the continent. To understand why Carney walked out, you have to understand what he walked into. This did not begin today. It began 3 days ago at Mar-a-Lago. According to internal State Department communications reviewed by multiple outlets, Trump's advisors drafted what they called the Northern Alignment Protocol. The name sounded diplomatic. The substance was not. It was a sweeping list of demands. Demand 1. Canada must align its energy export caps with U.S. domestic priorities. Translation: Washington would influence how much oil Alberta could sell and to whom. Demand 2. Canada must impose a 100% tariff on all Chinese electric vehicles and battery components within 30 days or face broad retaliatory tariffs from the United States. Demand 3. The Canadian dollar must trade within a narrow band against the U.S. dollar, effectively limiting the operational independence of the Bank of Canada. When that draft reached Mark Carney's desk in Ottawa late Tuesday, sources say he did not call an emergency press conference. He did not deliver a fiery speech. He made calls. He contacted the CEO of the Royal Bank of Canada. He spoke with the Premier of Quebec. He reached out to leadership at the European Central Bank. He was measuring leverage. Trump believed Carney was flying to Washington to negotiate the terms of surrender. Carney was flying to deliver a boundary. He understood the trap. If he signed, Canada's economic sovereignty would be compromised. If he refused, Trump could escalate publicly and attempt to rattle markets. Carney chose a third option. He showed up, he listened, and he let the moment speak for itself. 2 p.m. The doors close. Traditionally, there is small talk. Not this time. According to individuals briefed on the meeting, Trump remained seated and slid a folder across the desk. He reportedly said, "Mark, you're hurting us with lumber. You're hurting us with dairy. Sign this and we move forward. Don't sign it, and I put a 25% tariff on every auto part crossing the border by midnight." Picture Mark Carney, a former governor of the Bank of Canada, former governor of the Bank of England, a man who navigated the 2008 financial crisis and the Brexit aftermath. By all accounts, he did not react emotionally. He did not even open the folder. He said calmly, "Mr. President, this document conflicts with Canadian sovereignty. We will not sign it, and we will not negotiate under threat." The temperature in the room reportedly spiked. Trump raised his voice. He recited grievances. He invoked trade imbalances and NATO spending. He tried to dominate the room with volume. Carney waited. Then he delivered a warning that aides say landed hard. He said that if the United States escalated into a full trade war, critical energy flows into the Northeast could be affected within days. It was not a threat. It was a reminder of interdependence. Trump responded angrily. Carney stood, buttoned his jacket, and said, "When you are ready to treat Canada as a G7 partner, call me." Then he left. You want proof markets were listening? Look at the data. The moment headlines flashed, Carney departs White House early. Currency algorithms reacted. The dollar weakened sharply against the euro and the yen within minutes. Why? Because the stability of the North American trade framework underpins global supply chains. Disruption equals risk. Risk triggers selling. Second indicator, auto stocks. Shares of major manufacturers with deep cross-border supply chains experienced intense volatility. Modern vehicles are assembled across the continent. Components move back and forth multiple times before final assembly. A thickened border disrupts that choreography. Investors understand this. Third indicator, political silence. Lawmakers from border states did not rush to cable news to celebrate the confrontation. Many represent farmers, refiners, and manufacturers deeply integrated with Canada's economy. Their caution spoke volumes. Fourth indicator, energy flows. Tracking data showed several crude shipments adjusting routes amid uncertainty. Energy markets are global. Canadian heavy crude feeds U.S. refineries, especially in the Midwest and Gulf Coast. If buyers or sellers hesitate, markets feel it quickly. Here is the psychological dimension. Donald Trump has long operated on leverage through pressure. He believes scale confers dominance. That approach can rattle opponents who rely on public approval. But technocrats think differently. Carney evaluates systems. He calculates exposure. He assesses risk tolerance. Trump framed the moment as win or lose. Carney framed it as stability versus volatility. By walking out, he denied the spectacle. There was no televised shouting match, no dramatic signing ceremony, just departure, and markets filled in the blanks. Meanwhile, discussions were already underway beyond Washington. Canadian officials had been exploring diversification strategies, deepening ties with Europe and Asia, accelerating critical minerals partnerships, reinforcing alliances. Canada holds significant reserves of lithium, cobalt, uranium, and aluminum, materials vital to modern industry and defense. In an era of supply chain anxiety, that matters. There were also conversations with Mexico. The U.S.-Mexico-Canada agreement is a trilateral structure. Strain it on two borders simultaneously, and the system shakes. Coordinated resistance changes leverage. For Americans at home, the implications are practical. Auto workers in Michigan depend on cross-border parts flows. Farmers in the northern plains rely on Canadian rail and port access. Cities in the northeast import hydroelectric power from Quebec. Refineries in the Gulf process Canadian crude. Tariffs do not land on abstract nations. They ripple through paychecks and utility bills. In one telling detail from the meeting, when Trump allegedly shouted that Canada would return begging, Carney paused briefly at the doorway and said quietly to staff, "We're ready to go." It was understated, but it signaled finality. Where does this lead? There are three plausible paths. Scenario 1, escalation. Additional tariffs, retaliatory measures, market turbulence, political backlash. Scenario 2, de-escalation behind closed doors. Cooler heads prevail, language is softened, talks resume quietly. Scenario 3, structural realignment. Canada accelerates alternative trade frameworks, diversifies energy customers, and reduces dependency. The United States recalibrates its continental strategy under pressure. What is certain is this: trust, once shaken, is not instantly restored. Diplomatic relationships are built on predictability. Markets crave stability. Allies value respect. History is not always loud. Sometimes it is the sound of a door closing softly in the West Wing. Today may be remembered as one of those moments. The question now is whether this was a negotiating tactic that went too far or the beginning of a deeper shift in North American power. We will continue to monitor currency markets, commodity flows, congressional reactions, and statements from both capitals as trading opens tomorrow. Because when markets open, they do not trade on rhetoric, they trade on risk. This story is still unfolding, and the consequences may reach far beyond Washington and Ottawa.